Imagine paying for a credit protection program only to discover years later that you never signed up for it in the first place. It happened to one man to the tune of $10,000. And LA Times consumer columnist David Lazarus spoke with him and has a warning to keep you from getting ripped off. Tell us, first of all, what these protection plans are, because this guy doesn't seem too protected.
No, and I think a lot of people would be surprised by this. These are a common product, although they're getting phased out a little bit. What credit protection is insurance, basically. And what you're going to do is pay a percentage of your balance, let's say 85 cents a month for every $100 in balance that you carry, for the security of knowing that if you lose your job or if something else bad happens and you start missing payments, you won't start racking up lots of late fees. That's credit card protection. Now, that's fine, and I don't take anything away from that. The problem here is that this product, like many other credit card add-on products, is sold in a very questionable way. How do we know this? Because in 2015, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau lowered the boom on Citibank by saying, hey, you're selling a lot of these things without people even knowing that they're being signed up for it, and you have to pay $700 million in restitution.
Well, you got to know a guy named Paul Anderson. How did he end up paying for a service he didn't know he had?
Yeah, exactly. Paul Anderson is a public school English teacher. A bright guy, but like a lot of people, not the most financially savvy guy. And I say that because he didn't check his statements regularly. And that's one of the key takeaways here. Check your statements regularly. So in this case, and he showed me his statements, under the fees listings, it said payment safeguard, and then there was the amount being paid. Anderson looked at that and thought, well, that must be a routine cost of doing business, a standard fee that comes as a card holder. He didn't know any better than that. But then a few years ago, a friend told him about that $700 million settlement that I just mentioned, and Anderson thought, well, gosh, I've been a Citi cardholder since 2005. Maybe I want to check that. And yeah, it turned out that Payment Safeguard was a program, but here's where things start getting really troublesome. He complained to Citigroup. Citi said, get out of here. We don't even want to talk to you. And so he went to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, complained to them, and as part of the complaint process, they forward the complaint over to Citi. Citi then responds, and their story, and they're sticking to it, is that in 2006, during a call with a customer service rep, Anderson orally signed up for this program. Now, Anderson does not remember this call. He doesn't remember making the call. Moreover, he doesn't miss any bills, so he would have no need for credit protection of any sort.
There's no record. So you're telling me there's no record.
Oh, that's the other thing that's wrong here is when he said, prove it. They said, oh yeah, a lot of time has passed. We don't have a recording of that. Trust us that you signed up for it. Now, as part of the CFPB settlement, the CFPB said one of the big problems here is that Citi was signing people up for things during telemarketing calls without their knowing it. Almost certainly that's what happened to Anderson here. Now, Citi's story is, well, we've been sending you letters and emails throughout the years telling you about these fees, telling you about the program. You never responded, and therefore we thought you just loved paying these fees. Anderson says, I didn't get any of these letters. I didn't get any of these emails. I don't know what you're talking about. In any case, I don't want this program. I didn't sign up for the program, and you can't even prove that I did. And that's kind of where it was resolved when he came to me.
Well, wait a minute. So someone could just sign you up for something, any company. I mean, that's shady, right?
Shady, yeah. And that's why there was a $700 million restitution plus a $35 million fine attached to this. In fact, this is a product that was so troublesome for Citi, they discontinued it in 2015. But they continued to service the existing accounts, which means they continued charging fees to people like Anderson.
So Anderson gets out his calculator or abacus, whatever this teacher uses, and figures out how much he's paid. How much did he pay?
Oh, it's not pretty. Over the years, and he's a school teacher, so he ran a balance frequently on his credit cards. In fact, he ran some pretty big balances. Mea culpa. At the same time, he says, you know what? I ran up since 2006 about $10,000 worth of fees for a program that he didn't want, didn't need, and wasn't even aware that he was involved with. And then again, this was a program that Citi paid millions of dollars to resolve complaints about, and yet when an aggrieved customer came their way, a customer in good standing, mind you, who has been a cardholder since 2005, they said, and slammed the door in his face.
David, are there other things we should look for when we open up our credit card statement?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. What you want to do is at least be fluent in the language of statements, as it were, which means knowing how to read it, looking for any unusual charges that are in there that you don't recognize. And typically there'll be the name of the company and a phone number you can call if you have questions about it. But then under fees, and this is where this one fell, don't just take it at face value that fees are fees are fees. In fact, this is where the bank or the credit card issuer might stick their own fees for their own products and use language that just masks the fact that this is an add-on and something that is optional. So you want to be very careful that you understand everything. And if you don't understand anything on there, call the financial firm and ask them to explain it to you.
Exactly. And now, Mr. Anderson, will he see any of his $10,000 that he so graciously donated to Citi?
Well, as it happens, I spoke with Mr. Anderson just a few minutes ago. I don't want to give a big spoiler alert here. Let's just say he's going to be doing a little bit better after I got involved.
And we're going to have to read your column for all the details.
You better read my column.
We'll see you in the paper. Thanks, David. David's column posts tomorrow at latimes.com. And David also has a weekly newsletter called California Inc. that posts every Monday. Just go to the business section. You can sign up for it by just entering your email address at the bottom of the newsletter.